Hi children, a very good evening to all of you. My name is Miss Jinita and today I'll be taking a topic of chemistry for you. Today's topic is solids, liquids and gases. Now before we move on further, let me please share my screen. Just give me a moment. All right. So the topic is states of matter, as I said earlier. Now, what are the three states of matter? Can anyone tell me? They are the solids, liquids, and gases, as it is written clearly on the screen, as you can see it. It is solids, liquids, and gases. Now, for your information, let me just inform you that there's a fourth and fifth state of matter existing as well. The fourth state of matter is plasma, and the fifth state of matter is Bose-Einstein condensate. But today we'll be concentrating mainly on the first three states of matter, the solids, liquids, and gases. Now, can anyone give me some examples of solids and liquids and gases that they come across in everyday life? Like for solids, you can say a table or a house, or you can say a chair or a pencil box, or you can say a wooden door, or you can say so many examples of it, a tree trunk, and so many more. Liquids, you can say water that we drink, or the coke that we drink, or milk, or a sugar solution, or salt solution. These are all examples of liquids. Gases, if you go for gases example will be the air around us, which consists of so many gases. Air is a mixture of many gases, as we already know it. So for examples of gases, you can say nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, argon, helium, and so many other gases present in the atmosphere around us. Yeah. So these are some of the most common examples of solids, liquids, and gases that you will find in your everyday life all around you. Okay. Most of them are solids, but liquids and gases do exist to a very great, or rather very considerable amount. For example, water is like predominant on the Earth's surface. Yeah. All right. Now moving on to the properties of these three materials, these three states of matter. Solid. If you go for solid, solid holds its shape. What does that mean? It means it has a fixed shape. It has a rigid shape. It cannot be bent easily. But there are some exceptions. I'll be coming to that in 2 minutes. It holds its shape and its volume without support. It means it has a fixed volume and it has a fixed shape. Now, exception would be a sponge. A sponge is a solid, but still it can change its shape. Like when you squeeze it, the shape of the solid changes. The shape of the sponge changes. So that is an example of a solid which changes its shape. Okay. So what has the actual property that you can describe is the shape of solid will not change unless it is broken, cut, or squeezed, that is squashed into a different shape. If you take a plate, a glass plate or any plate, plastic plate, and try to break it, it will break quite easily. Of course, it might harm you, so I suggest don't do it at home. But honestly, it will break. Now, that does not mean that it is not solid. It is a solid, but you exerted extra pressure, extra force on it, due to which the shape ended up changing. So that is an example of a solid. Moving on to the next part, that is liquid. Liquids are not rigid. That means they do not have a fixed shape as such, okay? And don't have a fixed shape, but they do have a fixed volume. And they cannot be squashed, unlike gases. Unlike gases, liquids cannot be squashed. And a liquid forms a pool, not a pile. That means it takes the shape of the container in which it is kept. Like if you take water and keep it inside a glass bowl, it will take the shape of the bowl. If you keep it inside a mug, it will take the shape of the mug. If you keep it inside a glass container, any container, random container, any plastic container or anything, or a metal container, it will take the shape of that container. So it does not have a fixed shape. And gases change shape and they do not have a fixed volume. They are not rigid and they can be squashed. That means the molecular particles inside a gas are very spread apart. For example, if you take CNG and LPG gas inside your home, that the gases that you use for cooking, they are compressed, they are squashed into a smaller area, which enables us to use the gas for a longer period of time. Yeah, that is an example of a gas. Another example you can say. Moving on to the next part of the same topic, that is changes of state. Like how can we interchange the solids into liquids, liquids into gases, and vice versa in different ways. Now we'll be talking about 4 main changes of state here. That's condensation, freezing, melting, and evaporation. Condensation, freezing, melting, and evaporation. So what is condensation? We'll start with the first one, that is condensation. What is condensation? It is when a gas is cooled. Any gas, when it is cooled, it will turn into a liquid. Okay? That is that is a definition for condensation. Now, example, if you want to know, it will be like, you take a chilled water bottle and keep it outside on the table. After some time, you'll notice water droplets appearing on the surface of the water bottle. That is due to condensation. Why? Because the atmosphere, the air, the gases in the air that surrounds the cool glass comes in contact with the cooler surface, and they get cooled themselves, and the water particles or the water droplets are formed on the water bottle. Second one is freezing. Now, when liquids are cooled, they freeze and turn into a solid. For example, if you notice, if you keep water in an ice tray and keep it inside the deep freezer, it will freeze and it will convert into solid ice the next day. So that is one example of freezing. That means the temperature has to be reduced because it's colder inside the deep freezer, obviously, compared to the atmosphere in which we live. So as the temperature gets reduced, it gets solidified to a greater extent, and the temperature at which the solid liquid will completely get cooled into and turn into a solid will be at 0 degrees Celsius. Right example is water turning into ice. Third one is melting. Now, when solids are heated, they turn into liquid. For example, if you take one ice lolly or an ice cream, any ice cream you take, and keep it in the open, usually ice creams are kept in the deep freezer to maintain the temperature. But when you take it out of the freezer, temperature increases. It comes in contact with the atmosphere, whose temperature is more. As a result, what happens? The temperature of the ice cream also increases, and therefore the solid starts changing into its liquid state, and that's called melting. So, and last one is evaporation. That is when a liquid is heated, it turns into a gas. Okay, when you heat a liquid, it will turn into a gas. For example, if you take a pan of water and you heat it, what happens is the water starts getting converted into gaseous form. Sorry, starts getting converted into the gaseous form. That means it starts vaporizing and starts getting converted into its gaseous form. That is water vapor. That is an example of evaporation. Evaporation is also known as vaporization. Okay. Now, water will freeze at 0 degrees Celsius to become ice, and it will boil at 100 degrees Celsius to become gaseous water vapor. So I hope this part is clear for you. A temperature at which water changes from liquid to solid, that is, it freezes, is 0 degrees Celsius, and the temperature at which liquid water gets converted into water vapor, that is the gaseous form, is 100 degrees Celsius. So that is the example of change of state of matter. That is liquid to gas and liquid to solid. Okay, and the process that when a liquid turns into a gas is called evaporation. That process is called evaporation. So we'll stop here for today, and we will continue next class with the next part of the topic. So I hope you understood my lesson, and any doubts, get back to me and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you. Have a nice day.